Yo, what's up, y'all? I am DJ Premier.
And my name is Royce 59.
We are PRhyme, and we are checking out, you're checking out AllHipHop.com. Yeah.
All right, well, AllHipHop.com, your man Jigsaw with Primo and Royce. What's good, man?
What's up,
Good.
Can y'all talk about this new PRhyme record? Like, what's what are fans in store for it? You know, people like myself, we've heard it, and there's been some leaks out there. But can you talk about the album a little bit? This installment.
It's a continuation of where Adrian Young left off with the original brand of PRhyme, which set the tone. Because for those that don't know, or and they're late to the party, like I said on the intro of PRhyme 2, PRhyme is a concept album. So it's a different approach in my production where we only take one artist sound, and then I look for pieces that I think I can flip a Premier style beat into it, but I don't dig for records or anything, no sampling from nothing but just their sound catalog. And they just give me a whole bunch of stuff, not just these specifics. They're just like, here's a bunch of stuff, go through this and see what you can come up with. And then that's how PRhyme 1 was done. So that one was more not up my alley of where I'm used to doing production, because I'm known for finding those samples where it's like, yo, where'd you get that? What is that? Where'd you loop that? Where's he find these sounds? This is one, again, only dealing with one person. So my worry the first time around is sonically, is it going to sound too much like the same sound on every record? Because I'm not getting a variety of people to dig from. So Adrian Young gave me a nice, plethora of stuff. We created PRhyme 1, and then it started to get understood once Royce came up with the name, because the first song we recorded was PRhyme. We didn't have a title, but he kept saying PRhyme, I'm in my permanent PRhyme in the hook. And then maybe a couple days later, he said, why don't we call ourselves a group instead of Royce 59 and DJ Premier? And once he said, I want to call it PRhyme, but spell it PRHYME, but make the letter P and the letter R capital, so that P and the R is Premier and Royce. And that's why a lot of people say PRhyme, because of the two capital letters. And he said, let's just push that name and not us separately, and let's start getting people used to PRhyme. So when we do that, the first one started to get understood, where after that we started getting tweets and things like that. Yo, are y'all gonna do a PRhyme 2? It just seemed like, don't even give it another title. Just the number 2 is good enough to elevate it. But we figured, since the one person sound is the approach to the production of where I make my beats from, why don't we change it every time if we do a PRhyme album? If we do a 3 and a 4, we always get another person to get the what do you call it? The
compositions.
Yeah, the compositions and the source material. That's what Adrian Young used to call the source material. So for that one, Man Wonder, I love his sound. It's very melodic, very different from Adrian, where Adrian is very kind of dark, gritty 70s. And Man, it has a soulful style like that too, but so much melody. And I love melody. Yeah, I really do. So Man was on board, sent us a whole bunch of stuff. He'd be like, yo, I'm sending you some more stuff. A month could pass. Yo, I just sent you 20 more. I was like, oh, man. And, just digging to find something I can make beats out of. It was just such a variety that this one, instead of 9 songs, we just kept going and just said, let's just narrow it down to what we like. We ended up doing 15 with 2 skits, of course, to make it 17. But that's really the main understanding we always want people to know, because when I produce outside of PRhyme, I go back to regular dirty records and pops and cracks, and that'll always be my tradition production approach, but never for PRhyme. I will always just sample one sound source only for PRhyme. Then that makes it special, because in that way you know what you're getting when we do this that way. I can do a Royce 59 album right now, which I fought for a while, and with the first one I was like, yo, Royce, let me just dig, and me and you with a whole album's gonna be crazy anyway. But now I get it, and I'm glad that we did it this way. It's so creative to just, it's a challenge for me too.
Right. Royce, what's the magic between the two of you?
I think it's the relationship. I've been thinking about this for a long time. I can't quite put my finger on it, but if I had to think about it in comparison to everything else that I do, I think I'm connected to him as a person, and that's where I was just saying earlier, the long conversations, the stories. He was just telling us a story in the car. We were just in there quiet. He was telling us a story the whole ride here. It's like, I didn't realize until pretty recently that's part of it. Right. That's part of the vibe. It's part of the creative process. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, he inspires without even trying. He inspires just by being himself. Right. You know, so it's like there's a certain psychology to producing that a lot of people don't realize. You can be the most talented beat maker in the world. You can be a talented producer in terms of arranging, you know, like coming up with melody, writing hooks. But man, if people can't vibe with you, if you don't know how to talk to the artist, make them feel comfortable, make sure, because we all crazy. All artists are crazy. I'm going to tell you that shit right now. We're all lunatics. You know what I'm saying? Like, our mood go up and down. Everything is, we're sensitive about our art. We don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, we don't like people critiquing it. We don't like, you got to know how to talk to people. You know what I mean? PRhyme knows how to talk to me. He can get me to change anything on a song. You know what I mean? Like, I can be married to something, I can love it, and he can figure out a way to talk me into changing it or trying it another way. And, you know, having options and creativity is so important. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's one of the main things. I think it's our relationship. It's the way we communicate with each other. And we got similar taste when it comes to music. We both like hearing things a certain way, a similar way. You know what I mean? So it's like, it really doesn't matter what we do. You know, he can send me something, like we did fucking basketball commercials together. Like we did ESPN commercials together where he just made a beat with basketball noises in it, and I rapped over it on some basketball shit, and the shit came out fucking dope. Like, after he mixed it, I was like, whoa, I'm gonna just be bumping this shit. It's like for a commercial, you know what I mean? But, you know, we just click like that. And I've been in there with some pretty talented guys, and it hasn't always been that same magic, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes it's just like oil and water. Sometimes people make beats and there's no room for the vocal. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, damn, this beat sound crazy, but I just want to listen to the beat. Like, where's the rap gonna go? You know what I mean? Like, he leaves it just open enough to where once you add your vocal, it damn near feels like an instrument in the beat, you know. So I think he's pretty tailor-made for my style.
How do y'all stay inspired? Both of you have been in the game for a while. You know, obviously, PRhyme, you've been around a bit longer, but you know, for hip hop, longevity is a touchy subject. You know, at this point, there aren't a whole lot of artists that have been around and endured and still continue to rise like both of you. Do you think PRhyme is a part of that, or is it just a combination of both of you being still hungry and in love with the culture?
I think it's all of those things.
Yeah,
it's all of those things. It's just, you know, PRhyme came as just an idea, and I think having that kind of foresight to be able to make the best decision in terms of moves that you're making in the business, that adds to your longevity to some degree. You know, because you do reach that point where people, if you're a good rapper, you're a good MC, people kind of get used to it. Yeah. And then it's like, now you got to kind of figure out, you know, if you're DJ Premier, what are you going to do with a beat that's going to blow people away? Right. More than the whole Gangstar catalog. All of the shit he gave Jay-Z, Nas, Biggie, J. Rue the Damager, Come Clean, arguably one of the best beats in hip-hop history. Yeah. How do you top that? You know, like you're at a point where you're competing with yourself. You know, so I think, you know, the logical next step, and this is why I twisted his arm so much to do the first one, the logical next step is just to figure out some new cool shit to do, new collaborations. You know, SlaughterHouse played a big part in my staying power, I guess you could say. Because when I got in that group, it was almost like a new me. It was almost like a reinvention. Right. And I always like to, when I talk about PRhyme, I always like to say, and I don't know if you noticed this, but he's one of the only people who has transcended generation to generation without reinventing, without changing anything. He doesn't dress different. He didn't get a different haircut. He is the same DJ Premier. He just gained a little weight. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's like, dog, if that ain't hip hop, I don't know what is.
Yo, that's That's a great point. That's a great point.
There's nobody else. There's
I was
nobody
just
else.
talking about Jay today, and they were like, "Yo, Jay's about to do a song with Lil Uzi Vert," and I was like, "That's Jay." You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not wrong with that.
You can't count Jay out.
Right.
You know, if he's doing it, he's gonna figure out how to make it good.
Right.
He's gonna figure out how to make it work. And Lil Uzi Vert is one of those people that, you know, like everything that he makes isn't necessarily for us.
Right.
So there's no need for me to be hypercritical to his music. But you can see him and listen to him, and you see the talent. You see that there's talent. You see that he's good at what he does. You know what I'm saying? Dre is another one. Dre is another one who never, bro. You and Dre, y'all too. They the only ones.
But Dre lifted some weights. Like at that one point, Dre
Dre
came
did
out.
get Diesel. He did get Diesel. But I don't think he did it as like a necessary change. I think he just wanted to get
I just
healthy.
want to tell you, he said he wanted to get healthy. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He's been partying. He said, you know, he told me directly, like, man, I was drinking and partying, you know. And even when you look at the older pictures of him, he had a kind of round face, even though he was never fat. But you know, but he looks amazing, man. You know, and I'll be 52.
Right.
It's time to get Diesel, man.
Yeah,
It's time to get Diesel.
So, you know,
Okay.
I'm working on my shift. That's why I'm keeping the jacket on. I'm gonna peel in a couple of months.
You look like G-Rap with the bulletproof jacket. Yo, you touched on something. You know, hip hop's always kind of like at war with itself, but now it seems worse. It seems more combative, if you will. You said something in an interview. I can't remember exactly what you said, but how do you feel about like some of the older gods of hip hop? Kind of, it's good and a bad thing. It regulates the culture, but then it sometimes feels like it's toxic almost. Like they're fighting the young dudes. That, like you said, it's really not for us anyway. You know what I'm saying?
It's very toxic.
Yeah.
It's sending the wrong message.
Yeah.
You know, it's how would you feel? Like we both went through it, so that's why we understand. We came into the game very, very early.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of negative feedback, flack from our successors. You know, and this is the thing that people got to understand. It's not always your time. You got to be ready when it is your time, and when it's time to step aside and give somebody else the limelight, you got to also be ready for that. That also plays into longevity. And then two, you have to also remember it doesn't matter how good you are and what you contributed to the culture as it evolves or devolves. You're not a gatekeeper.
Right.
You don't own it. You can't say, oh, Eminem white, so he don't get to talk about this, and he don't get to, like, you're not that. You know what I'm saying? Like, what you're gonna do is you're gonna affect your own legacy because you're gonna turn people against you. You know what I'm saying? Like, my thing is always to embrace all creative people. You know what I mean? Like, I know I'm not gonna like everything. I'm gonna always be competitive on the mic. I'm gonna always poke fun at things that are funny within the genre. But I honestly feel like that there should always be some type of brotherhood amongst artists, period.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only way that we're going to learn. Can you imagine how much better I would be if I had somebody to really just point me in the right direction?
Yeah.
Like, everything that I know, all the wisdom that I have to this point is from making mistakes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess it's the difference between having a big brother and not having a big brother. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I think. So I think if you're in the game for a long time and you acquire all this knowledge, and you achieve a bunch of success, that shit ain't free. You don't get to just hold on to that. It's your job as an OG to teach the youth the right shit to do. You got to give them some of that knowledge. That's why God gave it to you. You hold on to it, you can block all your blessings.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So, PRhyme, how do you feel about the game these days?
I feel the same way. I just choose to do the sound that influenced me. I think do what you're best at, and my sound is a sound that preserves the early stages of hip hop culture. You know, with the beats, the scratching, dope rhymes. I mean, those were the main elements for us. And then it came down to the graffiti and the b-boys and the b-girls breaking, even beatboxing. Like, you know, back in our era, there was a lot of beatbox records. You know, like there'd be Skinny Boys, it'd be Dougie Fresh, be the Fat Boys, and they'd all have records that all had beats, and they had records that were just beatboxing only. And that was major for a minute with the beatbox albums, you know, from before Rozelle, you know, and coming out and all that stuff. Like, and then when Rozelle came out, he took it to another level of sound. So we come from that era, which again, not every artist of that era has continued to do it right. Like I don't like when the older artists, like you said earlier, they'll do their best to stay relevant to the youth by doing a record similar to what they're doing, but they make a bad version of it. Make a good version of it. If you want to do a trap record, a bounce record, a swag record, what else? Or even a record, a record with a new dance, like the way you have to look. People call it the Bobby Shmurda dance to this day, and do it just from that one record he dropped. Hold Your Head, Bobby. And the whole GS9 and everybody. But yeah, I just think that some people are made to do that. I'm made to do the purest form era of it, and I stay in that lane because my fan base wants more of that.
Yeah.
So I serve my fan base. It's just like being, Levi's ain't going nowhere.
Right.
So put me in the category of what they've done, and the Carl Kanars and the Walker Wares, and that I preserve that, and I just make newer versions of that same thing.
Right. Now, if both of you could advise what you know now, advise your younger self when you say we're in your prime, what would you tell them?
Honestly, I'd say keep doing what you do best. Keep doing what you do best. The younger generation, their lane and their sound is their sound. Let them have that, because we were there. I was 23 going on my third album.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? My third Gangsta album, I was 23 going on 24.
Right.
Successfully too. Buying cribs, houses, cars, and loaning our friends money if they need to hold 10 for stacks. It was like, yeah. And we weren't platinum, but we were making that kind of money as youngsters. So I remember what it was like living that. I remember every single day. I remember the fights. I remember everything. And and we may have had 3 guns. Now they have 100 of them. But those 3 guns were a big deal back in our day. Now everybody got a hammer. But that's the difference. But again, I get it, because we were them. Minus the pills. Hey, and even that, there's different drugs that hit our era. There's different drugs hit their era. The only sad thing is our drug era. Not so many people were dying from overdosing, and there wasn't no overdose thing, and that's scary. See these youngsters dying of ODing over pills. It's like, are you crazy?
Melly Mel told me he got himself off crack, and I was like, yo, you were strong.
That was our era.
That's the whole era, bro.
Yeah.
They had a way more lit era than we got.
I know, for real.
Like y'all was fucking with our rubbers and shit too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They had it made, man.
It was like condoms. Going to no store to buy a condoms. And then when the AIDS and all that kicked in, everything started being get your Jimmy hat, your Jimmy hat, and that became a thing. Yeah. Crack is whack, and get off the crack. I mean, so. But that Reagan era, man, woo, that was a lot of money.
That's a whole other conversation. What about you? What would you tell your younger self? What would you advise him?
Hey, man. Obviously, no booze. No booze. Stay sharp. That's the most important thing, man. I mean, the decision making is more important than the music. Flat out. So, I mean, that's basically, that's where people go wrong. Like a lot of people, I always say this, there's a whole lot of people who has what it takes to make it. It's just not everybody who's willing to give it everything they got.
Yeah.
I don't know why people barter that.
Right.
It's like you got it in there, but you don't want to give it.
Right.
It's like you're playing with it. You know what I mean? Like,
if
you're going to give it your all with anything, it might as well be your life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's probably what I would
tell kids
convey.
that. You know what I mean? They think they have like 1,000 years or something.
Well, like they say,
Putting it off.
with the youngsters, and it goes for us too, you really don't know what your real full life is like until you hit some heavy consequences. From going to jail, to getting stomped out and beat up by some dudes because you kept talking shit thinking it can't happen to you, and you finally get stomped out. Like, I've been through stomp outs and did the stomping, and you just, a lot of these kids have not faced the consequence yet. And then when they do, it's a whole different story, especially if it's the jail situation, because now, you don't have your crew with you and all that shit talking. And nowadays, with the gangs in New York now, with Crips and Bloods in New York, if you ain't down with a set or anything, you're pretty much on your, or with the Muslims or whatever, or with any of the Latino gangs, you are on your own to just do your bid, which can be done, and do your bid and get up out of there. But to just know it's not gonna be the same as running from the cops on the outside. Right. And then when you come out, you gotta learn how to adjust to what's changed. It really does change that quick.
I know y'all didn't dream of being producers and rappers growing up.
I did.
You did? That's all you ever wanted to be?
I wanted to play football, but that wasn't in the cards once I crashed my first motorcycle, messed my knee up, and knocked my teeth out, and it was just like, that's not gonna work. My knees are already bad back then in junior high school. Okay. So I love motorcycles. I don't even buy them anymore because of my age. I'm like, nah, let me just. I'll end up crashing. Like, I know what could happen because I'm a daredevil. I love driving fast. I love the danger. And I'm like that with driving a car too, but it's on 4 wheels. I have more chances of making it back. Absolutely. But I said no more bikes, man. I'll ride somebody if somebody has a new bike. Let me take it around the block and take it for a spin. I'll do that. Mm-hmm. But even that, I'm not going to be on one that long, and I'm really gonna take it for a spin. I'm not gonna hit the highway and all that stuff. Nah, I just fear wiping out and really having a fatal situation. So I'm like, I know how to talk to myself. Same thing with drugs, all that. So like you said, I know how to talk myself away from it, and that's how I've been able to maintain. I just know when to turn the switch off of saying no more partying.
That's called moderation, brain. A guy like me don't know nothing about that. I don't even know the concept of that.
There you go.
What did you
I'm glad you didn't know me back then. He beat Royce the crack nine.
I wouldn't be here, bro. I'd have did so much crack.
That record boom would have been for a different reason.
Right.
It would have been over. Yeah, I wanted to be a basketball player, fighter.
Yeah, that's where the love of boxing came in.
Yeah, because my uncle was a pro fighter. My dad was in his corner when he fought on TV. It's like we just came up in the environment, just loved it. You know what I mean? Like, and then it was my brothers too. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we all did the same thing, and then we all went to each other's games, each other's practices. So it was just like a athletic type of household. You know what I mean? But it was also very music inspired. My dad played guitar. You know what I mean? My mom played records all day when she cleaned up. It was just all we did was sit around and watch videos, record them, play them back. So I didn't actually start writing raps consistently until later in high school, maybe about 11th, 12th grade. And as soon as I got out of high school, that's when I started going to open mics. And when I started feeling accepted at open mics is when I really wanted to start doing it. Yeah. I just started feeling like I fit in, you know what I mean? Like I started feeling like people accepted me. The only other time I felt like that was I'll be in the game, I have a good game, hit 25, 30.
Okay.
I used to do shit like that, you know what I'm saying?
You about to be on some Russell Westbrook stats?
I get cheered on. If I didn't have to have good grades at the same time, I probably would have made it in basketball. Wasn't doing both though.
Right.
I give you some good games. I give you some buckets, but I ain't giving you good grades too.
Right. Okay.
That's asking too much.
So Royce, I want to ask you something about you and Joe. What is y'all? If he keep telling me y'all going back and forth with each other, and there's like tension or friction or something. Are y'all still cool?
Yeah, we cool. I mean, I'm not going back and forth with anybody. I did an interview, and they asked me if I felt like he went too far when he criticized Marshall's album when he was doing the Everyday Struggle show, and I just said yeah, and I explained why. And Joe being Joe went and did not a whole podcast episode, but he readdressed it in a podcast episode as a response to me, though what I was saying wasn't directed at him. It was actually me reiterating something that I already said to him in a private conversation. So he's the one that feels the need to take things that we talk about privately and make them public. I'm not really with that, you know what I'm saying? So I just, I probably won't be speaking on that no more.
Yeah, understood. Your man, Bizarre was here 2 weeks ago. Yeah, he was here 2 weeks ago. He has a new album with King Gordy.
Lars.
Yeah. Yeah, Lars is dope. What is it about Detroit? I always maintained. I said this on record. Detroit has the scariest MCs, pretty much on the planet. Yeah. What is it about Detroit that's special when it comes to this MCing thing?
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I really don't. I wish I could answer that. I mean, I didn't realize how special our generation was until years later I was able to look back in retrospect. And everybody who I met at the hip hop shop, Ebony Showcase, all of these open mics, our whole class, that whole class of 99 or something, we all got record deals. Every single one of us. And prior to that, it was unheard of for a Detroiter to get a record deal because it had been so many years because we were like on a resurgence from the whole Motown era. So you had like Esham, Detroit's Most Wanted, straight up legends, but they were local legends who didn't care about the national notoriety because they were kings in Detroit. And I think by the time it got to our generation, things were starting to evolve a little bit. And once we seen Marshall get that record deal with Dre, and then we seen Jay Dilla form a production company with Q-Tip called the UMA, and now he riding around the city in a Land Cruiser, I think our generation just started to want more. And then it's picked up since then. The generation now, T Grizzly, Big Sean, Danny Brown, they want more. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's a great thing. But why we're so versatile and we're so good at the art of just straight up rapping, I have no idea, bro. I don't know. Maybe it's because we push each other. I don't know.
What are your you guys? The media is a weird thing, and as we've noted with you and Joe, Joe's always been a master manipulator when it comes to the media and stuff. But aside from that, how do you feel? Like, I'll give you a perfect example. Like, I saw a dude disrespected Tupac. Two of them.
Was that Zan or was it?
Zan and another dude. Now the other dude I never even heard of before, but he got on Billboard. And for me, like, my point of view was like, AllHipHop probably wouldn't flame that out to the masses. You know what I mean? We probably either ignore that or cut it out, or at least bare minimum, like, really challenge the artist on that idea. Do you guys feel the media has changed as it relates to hip hop now, or is it pretty much the business as usual from like the Vibe days and the Source days? And
No, it's definitely different because with social media, now you have the gift and curse usage of it, where, not to say that you can't have that back in the Good Source and Double X. I mean, the Good Source was before Double XL even existed. No diss to Double XL, but the Source was, I remember Guru, God bless him, was the one that explained to me what the Source was, because I was new from Texas, and he was explaining to me who Dave Mays was, and this one sheet is everything to us, what's being listed to be being played, and then they went from that one sheet that Guru used to always show me to all of a sudden they were a magazine. We were like, wow. And then by the second issue, with Malcolm X on the cover, now we're in it. And that's where all those pictures have been surfacing of me and Eazy-E from our Gangstar release party. Dre was there, Ren was there, and I don't know why they're cropped out of the original pictures. I'm sure the Source has it somewhere on the old files. I don't know how they filed their stuff, but those pictures were in that one, that second one with Malcolm X. We were just like, wow. And then it was color now, color pages, and we were just like, man, this is our Bible for hip hop. And they targeted the stuff that we all appreciate to this very day, to where now with the social media thing, like I said, it is a gift and a curse. There's times in my earlier career of being on social media, certain people say something that I'm like, yo, you're wrong, and I would really want to dig into them and do this and be like, yeah, let me destroy you because I'm very good at debating. And then I had to get to a point where it's like, dude, why are you doing that? Because now you're back and forth. I never took it to the level like I'm going to see you and when and you ever come here, I'm going to fuck you up. None of that. But now it's about the hottest story. It's almost TMZ-ish. You know what I'm saying? Not with everybody, but that whole clickbait thing can really make you, make it dangerous for you, but also make it falsify what you're about to read, because you'll click on it because the story says something really crazy, and then when you read it, it's like, damn, it's not that serious.
Yeah, you get sucked in if you don't know what you're looking
Yeah.
Yeah, Rick Ross was almost dead a week ago.
Yeah.
I was like, yo,
They try to kill all the legends.
Yeah, for real.
It's like this. That just come with it. I definitely, to add on what PRhyme is saying, I definitely think it's changed a lot too. I think it's just evolved into more of a self-preservation thing than anything. You know, like everybody is just out for the views. You know, it's unfortunate to see it affect people's personalities, though. You know what I mean? Like you see people turning into different people, like they're slave to the views or a slave to the.
Yeah.
That's not really cool, but just in terms of just like as far as the media side of it, definitely changed a lot. Now, as far as the younger artists saying things, I think the shock value thing is like a big thing. I think is a such thing as overreacting to it. It's a bunch of different ways to deal with it, but I don't think it's a need to overreact, man. It's like hearing your kid curse for the first time. Like how mad do you really get? Right. You know what I mean? Right. Like you either put the child in his place, or you teach them exactly what's going on. Like anybody who says anything negative about Tupac and they're young, they obviously are just not. They don't understand how much of a door Tupac opened for them. They don't understand. They need to be educated on the situation. And then you also got to look at it like this. These people that we're talking about, how long do you think these people are going to really be around? If you don't have confidence in this artist as somebody who's going to have longevity, why do you even care what they got to say?
Right. Yeah, I mean, we definitely, I didn't even mention the dude. We did mention the little Zan kid, but the other dude that said it, I had never even heard of him, so I was just like, yeah, we're not going to chase it.
Yeah, when you hate on Pac and Big, like if they were not relevant, it's almost laughable now because as Royce said, I mean, there's certain people that have to be accounted for being building blocks of this culture. It's Cool Herc, you know, you put Bambaataa in there. I don't care. The controversy is one thing and all that stuff, but you still got to put him in high regard, no matter what rumors you hear and all that stuff. I mean, even with R. Kelly, you know, the whatever things he did in his personal life that came to the light or made you change your views of him, you can't never front on the record that he made that a dope. His records are undeniably dope. You know what I'm saying? He makes hits that I appreciate and glad that they exist. You know, but his personal life, I don't want to be in that part anyway. Yeah. And that's not to say that you shouldn't still acknowledge people's wrongdoings, especially when it's some wicked weird shit. But you know, I'm into people for what they've done to my life or influenced my life, and a lot of these guys' music has done that, including like Melly Mel and Kaz and Rakim and Kane. But then all these producers have done it too, from Larry Smith to Rick Rubin to Marley Marl to Madtronics, you know, and then I'm influenced by the new producers from a Knots to a Havoc, you know, from Mobb Deep to even a Mike Will made it. You know what I'm saying? That I'm paying attention to them. I'm paying attention to Mustard. You know, when we see each other, the first time I ever saw Mustard, it wasn't like I don't know who you are. It was a mutual, hey, what's up, man? Yo, keep doing your thing. You know, we don't sound like each other, and we're not supposed to. Right. Timbaland, man, Pharrell, they're all new to me. You know what I'm saying? But they made marks that are definitely Hall of Fame level.
Right. Okay. Royce, is there anyone you have haven't rapped with that you would want to rhyme with?
Jay-Z and Nas. Jay-Z and Nas. I mean, you know, I'm a fan of a lot of people. Yeah. I'm a fan of a lot of people. Like the more seasoned I become, the more I'm able to appreciate a lot of different styles. I think I have a lot of fun, like mixing with people who don't necessarily do what I do, and try to come into each other's world and figure out a way to make something that's good, that'll work. I would love that challenge. You know what I'm saying? But just in terms of being a straight up fan of somebody, I mean, I've been doing some stuff with Redman, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's scratched off the bucket list, but not all the way off the bucket list, because we haven't put anything out yet and got a reaction. But, you know, just in terms of speaking to him and him showing that he wants to work with me as much as I want to work with him, it's good enough, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, Jay-Z and Nas, I mean, if I wasn't cool with him, obviously, but Jay-Z and Nas, they like on my Mount Rushmore, so it's like, it's damn near like, damn, I want to catch them. I want to catch them before they get out of here. You know what I'm saying? Because you can feel it coming. You can feel it coming. Like Nas is like a hop, skip, and a jump from just being like, peace.
I'm done.
See y'all later. You know what I'm saying? So it's like every time I see him, I just be like, big homie, just when you got some time. Just when you got some time. I'll be like, try not to push too hard here.
Right.
But
we
Jay-Z
thought,
and Nas.
we thought Nas was coming out last year. You know, M came out, J came out.
He's scaring me. He's scaring me.
I know. I'm like, yo.
And then I keep seeing these things about his investments and shit like that. It's like,
He's making more money.
he gonna get out of here. He gonna get out of here. He gonna be gone.
He might be one more and done.
Cause Nas the type, man. He seemed like the type. I don't really know him that well, but he seemed like the type that once he decide he through, you're not gonna see him no more.
Right. Yeah.
See, that's the problem. That's my problem with it.
Right.
We gonna lose Nas. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, I want to get at least one in with him before he out of there. Jay-Z, you'll always see. You know what I'm saying? Like you'll always see.
Oh.
Cream, you can make that happen, I think, right?
Yeah, let me get him on the phone.
I don't want it to
Pass
happen
my
like that.
phone
I
over.
don't
Oh,
want
you don't want that like
I
that?
wanted to happen like that. I
come
could have
on,
been
man,
did
why
that
you
shit.
think
Yeah, that's true.
I could have been twisted his arm like, man, make Nas do it. Nah, I wanted to, you know.
Maybe Cali can make it happen. Cali,
Yeah, right. Another one.
Right.
I want Nas to make it happen. I want it to be
Okay.
like you know, a mutual decision to do.
Do
You
you
know?
feel underrated? Like we always, I kind of hate that term underrated because it's almost dismissive. Like it's not disrespectful, but it feels like you're not really credited for what you've done. So, for example, Black Thought. Everybody, oh, Black Thought's so underrated, but is he really? Do you feel underrated, or do you feel like you're getting your just due as a lyricist? You know what I mean? Because
I mean,
99 is a minute ago.
yeah, I mean, it's a few different ways to look at it, I guess. I mean, I see what you're saying though, because it's like somebody call you underrated, it's like, oh, thank you, and then it's like you see him 5 years later, you're underrated, and then it's like, all right, that's enough of that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's, you know what I'm saying? It's starting to feel a little weird now, but I came into the game straight out of the open mics. You know, so like the first thing that I wanted to do was like kill MCs, kill mics, and impress my peers and get the respect of my peers. I got that. It's like really no MC that I looked up to who hasn't acknowledged me the way I felt like I deserved to be acknowledged. So no, I don't think I'm underrated in that sense. In terms of fanfare, so many other intangibles, man. It's so many things that go into that. It's so many things that go into building yourself before the people, and whatever you're doing being widespread. Like that could matter. That could be like the machine that's behind you. That could be the machine versus no machine. You know, I went a lot of years without the major label push. I mean, I haven't had the major label push. SlaughterHouse, that was it. You know, so I think there's a lot of other things that play into that side of it. I think any random kid who knows me, the first thing they think is he's respected. He's respected. And the reason why they feel like that is because they heard the way that I'm spoke about by my peers.
Right.
You know, so I don't know if that throws me in the underrated category.
Yeah.
Maybe underappreciated at times.
Okay.
But it's very easy for that to happen to anybody with how loud the internet is.
Right.
Very, very loud.
Yeah.
Got to figure out a way to cut through the noise.
Yeah, my thing is, I say, name an artist who can go bar for bar with Eminem, and it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Not a lot.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, not a lot. I've said other things that may be more arguable, but I won't say those on record. I'll say it. I think you're doper than Eminem. And that's not a competitive thing. I just think the consistency has been so ridiculous. And again, no diss to M. I think he's one of the greats for sure. But I just feel like you've been more consistently dope. You know what I mean?
Thanks.
And I know you
appreciate
don't have to say anything about that. You know what I mean? 'Cause
I mean, you know how I feel about it. You know what I mean? Like it's like that's big bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, but I mean, listen, man. I'm around these guys, and I just can't allow myself to forget the way I felt when they made the huge contributions that they made over the years. Right now, I'm talking about Marshall and Print. You know what I'm saying? Like when I'm in the studio with them, and we disagree on something, and I'm like mad, and I'm like forced to either go with it his way or go with it my way, and I just go with it his way because I think to myself like, man, I'm sure he's been wrong before, but man, when he right, he is right. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same with Marshall. When we was doing Bad Meets Evil, it was like a few things. I was like, you sure? And I was just like, yo, I'm gonna just trust you. You know, so I mean, it's that big homie thing, you know, that I just got with them. You know, so it'd be very difficult for me to just feel like, oh, I'm better than him now, because it's like guys like Jay-Z, Nas, you just can't count them out, man. You can't count them out. You can't count them out.
I got one more rap nerd kind of question I gotta get. I feel like what if anything, what went wrong with SlaughterHouse? Like that was, for me, it was like the most exciting moment in the last, I'm gonna say, 15 or so years for me personally. Mm-hmm. The four of y'all, you, Crooked, Joel, Joe, and I was just going nuts how, just conceptually how dope it was. But it didn't pop the way I felt it could have or should have popped as a fan. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Did something go wrong, or did it just was it just too above people's, you know, grade mentally at that time?
I think when we first started, we didn't do a whole lot of thinking. You know, there had been a long time since any of us had been on major labels. So when we went in and we did all of the first music, everything was just a vibe. It was just a feel. Mm-hmm. You know, when we did the first album, I kind of took the lead, and that's why you hear my verse first, and I'm doing most of the hooks, because it's just like I start stockpiling the beats, and I just start laying ideas, and then we fell into this little zone where it was like I would lay it and give it to Crook, and he would take it, lay it, and then Joel would come right behind him, lay it, and then Joe would just end up last. And that's kind of turned into our formula. Mm-hmm. You know, we weren't aiming for anything. We were just having fun with it. You know, so we ended up doing like festival Rock the Bells and all of that so soon, and stuff started happening. So when we signed our deal with Shady, it turned into this environment where it was just like everybody turned into a chef. It was like everybody in the kitchen was a cook. Everybody wanted to start the records. Everybody wanted to. It was like now too much of our brains started being involved. We started looking at the criticism. Will they be able to make songs for the radio? Will they be able to live up to the hype of being signed to Shady and making songs that can be commercially viable? And then, you know, we started making a lot of single type of sounding songs. And then by the time M got a hold of it, and he got all the music that we were doing, I think the songs that he decided to pick for the album were just too many of the more commercial sounding songs. And that's just him kind of doing it, I think, how he probably would have done one of his own albums, because when he works on something, he gives it his all. He puts the work into it like it's his own project. So we just kind of sat back and we just trusted his judgment on that. I still love that album. I just think it was a little soon for that kind of album. It was almost like we were celebrating. We were celebrating something that we hadn't achieved yet. You know, I think there were steps leading to that album that we should have took first, and then maybe did an album like that. Right. It's almost like if 50 would have came with In the Club before Wankster. Yeah. It'd been a little weird. Mm-hmm. Like by the time he got to In the Club, there was nowhere else for him to go. He had shattered the underground. You know what I'm saying? And I think we were so eager to just get there, and we wanted to show people what we can do. And M believed in us so much, it was like, these are the songs, we're gonna go, let's go. And I think it was just an all-around misfire, but it was a good fire because it sold well. And then as soon as we finished the album and we put it out, good first week, solid. I think we number 2 album, sold like 55,000 first week. That was real good. So that happened, and then as soon as we put the album out, that's when I got sober. So that very first tour, I couldn't go because I didn't feel confident enough being out there that soon. I didn't feel like I would be strong enough to be out there without drinking. So I got the guys on the phone and told them how I felt, and they supported me. So that's why that tour didn't happen. And then when we started talking about doing the second album, we got in there, we made a bunch of shit. The third album, I'm sorry. Got in there. Second album on Shady. We got in there with producers, Justice League, Ill Mind, Arab Music, Just Blaze, and we started working. And we did a body of work, but we still felt like we needed more. But then after that, like Joe was doing Love and Hip Hop. Joel started doing some other shit. Crook started doing some other shit. Me and him did PRhyme. And then since then, we haven't been able to like catch each other at a time where we all wanted to like give it 100% at the same time. And I just look at it like, yo, SlaughterHouse is something that we knew there was a time limit to it. We knew it because we were all solo artists before. And I feel like we stretched it longer than any other group that ever tried to do what we tried to do. Think about it. You got the Four Horsemen, Jay-Z, Ja Rule, and X. They never got a chance to do theirs. Anytime guys try to form like that, they never gave it 2 albums.
Right.
We did 2 albums and 2 mixtapes. We did a lot, and I think I'm happy with what we did with it. If we never do anything again, I'm happy with what we did.
Okay. So what's next for PRhyme? I know you had an album, but what's next for PRhyme, and what's next for both of you individually?
Well, definitely to tour, and then I'm doing I always do side production. I'm on Apathy's new album, which just came out. We did a record. I'm on Evidence new album. Did a record. We always do my one-offs with guys like that. Me and Apathy have been on several records with the whole Demigods and solo albums. Same thing with Evidence, Dilated Peoples, all the time. Just released a record with an artist named Tori Wolf. I have my underground label, Year Round Records. The NYGs is finally coming out with their second album, but it's really considered their first because the one that came out in 2008 was more of a compilation, where this one's an all Premier produced album. So I'm just doing the finishing touches on that. I have a couple of side projects that I can't even speak on, but they're very, very good announcements when I announce it.
All right,
But
no exclusives.
yeah, but NYG's is my focus, and then also I'm working on a solo album that salutes the closing of D&D Studios. So I want to call it Last Session at 320 because that was the address, 320 West 37. So it's like Last Session at 320. A lot of it was done there, and predominantly anybody that worked at D&D is going to be on the album because a lot of people came through the D&D, even if they worked with me or even worked there on their own. So it's coming together really well, but it's more of a stop-start thing. I'm not in a rush to finish it. And then other than that, yeah, just staying busy doing my underground radio show, expanding the Gangstar merchandise and the store that we have on my premierwashere.com site. It's a blog and a shop. So all the proceeds from all the Gangstar and Guru stuff that his nephew also has on our store goes to Guru's estate. So it's been putting his son through private school, and he's doing really well. He's 17 now, and he actually said he wants to rap, so he's gonna be letting me hear something soon. I said, yo, when you gonna let me hear it? He goes, I'm almost ready, and he just gives me that little smile. He's like, I'm almost ready, but he said, I gotta be ready for you to hear it. So hopefully it'll be on the level of what his dad did, so we can make some bangers. But I told him, hey, whenever you're ready, no rush. You're 17, you got time. But he said he just started writing. So big up to him. Me and Big Shug always work on new projects. Me and Jay Ruth just talked about doing some stuff. So there's so many other things that's possibly on the table. But and then again, I'll still always do my side production. Me and Redman talked about squeezing one in for that Muddy Waters, and I'm seeing him promoting it too. So Reggie, I'm coming, bro. I'm coming. Shout to Method Man. We talked about working on something. So many people,
Weren't you and Nas supposed to do an album together?
Was supposed to, yeah. It was an idea he pitched to me years ago, right around the time that I think around when Jay and then we're having their Ether beef. It hadn't really cleared up yet. I don't even think Ether was out yet, but he had approached me about the idea of me doing it, and it just never came to light. And it's really, and people always ask me when, and I'm like, yeah, you gotta talk to Nas. And so that's too Nas. He's waiting before you peace out.
I gotta get on that album.
I think the stars are lining.
So Nas, what's up, man? But me and Nas see each other all the time, and we just bug out and just talk about whatever. I don't even push it. If he doesn't bring it up, I don't bring it up. It's all good. That's my loved one from way back.
Yeah.
he got a lot of Queensbridge stories of me being in the hood and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
we go that far back. You know, a lot of good times.
Yeah, I got my solo album coming after this. It's called Book of Rhyme. Yeah, it's definitely my most personal, diverse album to date. You know, so I'm real excited about that. I'm gonna be working on some other stuff too that I can't really say right now.
Okay.
But I'm looking to release more music this year than I ever have.
Really? Okay.
In the year, yeah.
Great time.
Mhm.
Great time.
Shout out to Master Ace too. I'm on his new album coming up too.
Okay.
Legend.
I never get tired of seeing the Juice Crew reunite.
Oh hell yeah!
You know what I'm saying?
Oh man, seeing them do the symphony like that, and especially being a G-Rap is so rarely seen.
Yeah.
And also, it's like next up, I believe that's me. It's like cool G-Rap, and the crowd always goes crazy. Like wow,
Yeah.
because you can find Kane, who's always active. You can find Craig G, who's always active. Master A's always active.
Right.
And then you see G-Rap come out, and it's like wow, G-Rap is on stage doing the classics. He got so many.
Yeah, G-Rap's my favorite, man. Like,
Man.
definitely.
G-Rap is just wow. Like he's underrated to us,
Oh,
but
yeah.
but to us he's high on a big pedestal. Like he's up there with Kane and Rakim and KRS, like you know, and even Chuck D and Ice Cube. You know, dope lyricists, dope voices, dope deliveries. Yeah, G-Rap has to be in there.
Yeah.
You know.
Trying to get him to do a doc, but he's a little elusive.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got a lot of history, man.